Here, I have a rare video of a man speaking on the underground structure of the Board of Education.
Everybody's been talking about school and education. Well, in etymology, the word education comes from the word educere, which means to bring out of you what's in you. Schools don't do that. Schools give you something and you regurgitate it back, and that's how you get an A. This is called the 1902 Board of Education Act, okay? The endowment was given by John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie. They gave $30 billion. They actually owned the public school system, okay? And I'm going to read to you what their mission was. It says, prior to the late 1800s, education was private practice that took place in private institutions or through home schooling. That all changed in 1902 when John D. Rockefeller created the General Education Board in conjunction with Frederick T. Gates. Now, who was Frederick T. Gates? Have you ever heard of Bill? That's Frederick T. Gates is his grandfather. So this is what Frederick T. Gates said. Let me skip. Albert Einstein said, never confuse education with intelligence. John D. Rockefeller said, I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. So at the advent of the Industrial Revolution, okay, at its inception, they had to create workers in order to establish the Industrial Revolution. Well, think about this. The plantation became the plant, okay? The overseer became the supervisor, and master became the manager. That's the only difference. It's the same thing. It only changed its appearance like a cloud. So what I'm saying to everybody is I would suggest that everyone get into the forensics. There's one other thing called the King Alfred Plan, okay? The King Alfred Plan was a CIA operative that was designed by J. Edgar Hoover to destroy any black community, any black organization, and any black leader that showed any type of messianic energy, okay? It's happened today through COVID. The reason they're trying to freaking kill you is because they don't know which one of you is the Messiah, okay?
To the judge, Judge, do you have anything you have to tell me? Judge says, no. The judge, getting payments from the county? Judge says, yes. Well, Judge, under Canon 3E2, you have to disclose anything that might be relevant to this case, whether you think it's relevant or not. He said, well, and Judge, under 3E1, you have to disqualify yourself if you're violating the law. And under Code of Civil Procedure, Section 170.1A6 and III, those are three small i's, you're disqualified if a reasonable person thinks that you can't be objective. So, Judge, you're out. Get out of my case. Now, another thing is that if you have a case against the county, or the county was involved even as a witness, and any one of these judges who did this was sitting on that case, under California Code of Civil Procedure 473D, you bring a motion to void out his decision.
I've read so much information in the last few months to realize something. 99.9% of people don't know their consumer rights, because while you're going to do whatever you can to build your report to go get a loan, to appease that loan over the course of time, I can take several documents, put it into a finance statement, create a trust, go file it with the county clerk, take that packet once it's filed to a bank, and give them a purchase agreement, a security agreement, and a promissory note, and walk out with anything I want in accord to the documentation and contractual agreements I offer them. So in essence, I'll let you keep all the loans. I'll also allow people like you to remain ignorant. Oh, and if you want my sources of everything, you have to look up the following: contract law, trust law, Federal Reserve Act, the Bill of Exchange Act or UCC Article 3, In other words, fuck your loans.
Okay, this is probably the most important video I have ever posted. I transferred my property to my trust in August, and ever since then I've been going back and forth with the county trying to get off the tax roll. This week was my hearing, and basically it was a whole lot of nothing. And what I found out is that they're saying there's not going to be a definite decision until April, but my taxes are due in March. I went ahead and I paid my taxes. But me being me, I decided, okay, I'm going to find out as much information about the county so that I could do a W-4 sandwich or try to do some kind of recoupment process to get my money back. And look at what I found. You guys, look at this. Orange County, Florida government is a pet company. Pause the screen and read what I'm reading. Go and look at this information for yourself. If you don't believe me, look at this. And then that address looked very familiar to me where they are registered at. And that is the county comptroller. I just came across this information literally within the hour. But if all of this is correct, look at what I'm looking at. Then the Orange County comptroller, the Orange County, Florida government is a pet company masquerading as legitimate government charter. Look at the documents. Pause this. See the X where it says Charter County? I have been paying taxes for years to a pet company pretending to be the county, because the county has no authority to tax private property, right? I have a land patent. I've seen that this land is paid for already. Look at this. It's a pet company. Okay, you saw the address on those documents. Now let's go see what's there. Orange County Division of Corporations, Orange County Tax, Orange County Comptroller. All of these governments, buildings, agencies, offices are operating under the EIN of a pet company. I almost can't believe my eyes. Somebody tell me I'm wrong. Somebody tell me I'm crazy. 2 years ago, I went down a rabbit hole very similar about Maryland. I can't even believe this. Let's see if your county is a corporation. And what kind?
Is this you discussing Indian blood? We're going to judge people by whether they have Indian blood, whether they're qualified to run a gaming casino or not?
That probably is me, absolutely. Because I'll tell you what, if you look at some of the reservations that you've approved, you, sir, in your great wisdom have approved, I will tell you right now, they don't look like Indians to me. They don't look like to Indians. Now, maybe we say politically correct or not politically correct. They don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like Indians to Indians. And a lot of people are laughing at it, and you're telling how tough it is, how rough it is to get approved. When you go up to Connecticut and you look, now, they don't look like Indians to me, sir.
$5 Indian, $5 Indian.
Do any of you have the faintest idea how this country got started, or have any interest in learning about it? If you have, you just haven't shown it. I don't know why you even bothered. Opie, what is it?
I know.
You know what?
How this country got started.
Indeed. Well, suppose you tell.
Founding of Jamestown, 1607. The first colony was founded in Jamestown, Virginia by Captain John Smith. He was a friend of Pocahontas. Her father was an Indian chief. She was an Indian, too. But she was a friend of his, and she wouldn't let him. Kill him, I mean.
He wasn't the first. Columbus was in 1492. It wasn't in Jamestown, it was in San Salvador.
That ain't the United States, you dope. That's in the West Indies. What about the Pilgrims? They weren't the first Americans. The Indians were. Ain't that right, Miss Girl?
Boys, now you've raised some very interesting questions. Suppose we just start back at the beginning and take them one at a time.
The actual Indians, or rather known as the American Aborigines, have since blamed the government for the mismanagement of a trust in their names for well over 120 years, and now the US government owes them tens of billions of dollars. The dispute dates back to 1887, when Congress made the Interior Department the trustee for approximately 145 million acres of Indian lands in America. Black Indians, or rather Aborigines of America, were supposed to benefit, but the government gave the majority of the land, legal tenders, tax reliefs, and other federal specialized benefits to white settlers, who paid off the citizenship administrative organizations in order to become members of what is known as the 5 civilized tribes in Indian Territory by Congress. white settlers sought to reap the benefits of the Aborigines. In fact, one example of that will be the complexity of how successful, but so openly fraudulent, they did it. In 1895, the white settlers were informed of what benefits the Indians were entitled to, so they traveled to the Dawes Roll Commission to inquire about having their names enlisted on the roll cards for full-blooded and/or freedmen Indians of American lands. In 1898, the Dawes Roll acted as a census responsible for documenting records of one's ethnic background in order to determine one's association with specific American Indian tribes. Also, it played an important role with determining which Indian tribes would get land allotments and other benefits that I detailed earlier, in return for abolishing their tribal governments and recognizing federal laws. In order to receive the land, individual tribe members first had to apply and then be deemed eligible by the commission. The commission to the 5 civilized tribes was appointed by President Grover Cleveland in 1893 to negotiate land with the Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole tribes. It is commonly called the Dawes Commission after its chairman, Henry L. Dawes. In a 1963 episode of The Andy Griffith Show, the main character's son, named Opie, was profoundly decisive with informing his great aunt of some very intricate, persuasive details that he overheard from a white settler standing by.
Told you to go straight home from school.
Come and see, A.B. He's telling all about the Indians.
Who?
Him.
My friend, that is an excellent question.
He got kidnapped by the Indians. He got adopted by their chief. He lived with them, A.B. Real Indians. He lived with them and learned all their secrets. Come on.
Aunt B knew that the white settler's story was inaccurate and very deceiving, but what is true is that white settlers utilized the same exact reasoning in order to acquire the approval of Indian enrollment eligibility for their personal gain. During the early part of the year 1902, the U.S. government reacted with malicious intent in developing a separate freedmen's list specifically designed to root out all copper-colored Indians from receiving these newly established benefits by way of the federal government.
Indigenous people of this land. The Chinese came in, mixed in with them, and produced what you're calling Native Americans today or Indians. And the Caucasian gave them all our rights.